Good morning, class. In this video, we're going to do a radical equations example. And here's the example we will be working with. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Whenever I'm trying to solve a radical equations, the goal is always try to get rid of the radical and then solve for the variable that's in hand, which in this case is x. Alright? So let's go ahead and get started on this problem. The first step is to try to get rid of the radical. Since I've got this radical by itself on this side of the equation, I got to get rid of it. Since it is a square root, to get rid of it, what I have to do is I have to take the square of that radical. However, whatever I do on this side of the equation, I got to do on this side of the equation. So I also have to square this side of the equation. Now what that does on the right hand side is to make to leave this with just x plus 1. Okay. Now radical is gone on this side, but however on this side, okay, something else happens. Okay, we get x minus 5 times x minus 5. And that's what we've done. We basically squared this whole term right here. Okay? And so what we gotta do is we gotta resolve this side now. Alright? To resolve this, what we gotta do is we've got to use FOIL method and some other method. There's a box method also, but I prefer FOIL method to solve this problem. So what we do is we do FOIL, we get x squared. Okay. I'm going to do it in my head, right? It would be minus 10x plus 25, alright? Equals x plus 1. So now what we have is we have all these different terms on the left hand side and on the right hand side. And what we want to do is we want to combine all of the like terms and bring them all to one side of the equation, okay? So the easiest thing to do is to move all of this to this side of the equation. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the x from this side of the equation, and I'm going to put it under the like term over here. And I'm also going to subtract this 1 from this side of the equation, and I'm going to put it under the like term over here. Alright? And so we get on this side, okay, this cancels, this becomes 0. Alright? So on this side we get x squared, and negative 10 and negative 1 will give you negative 11x, and then 25 minus 1 will give you plus 24. Okay? So now what we end up with is we have a quadratic equals to 0, and we're solving for x. Now we can either use the quadratic formula to try to solve this, or we can use some factoring method. I prefer to use the factoring method. I find that way easier to use than the quadratic formula. So I'm going to factor this using a is equals to 1 factoring, because a is equals to 1 right here. Alright, so that'll give me, this will give me, when I factor this, I'm looking for two numbers. When I multiply them together I get 24, and when I add them together I get negative 11. So what are my two numbers? My two numbers are negative 8 and negative 3. Negative 8 times negative 3 is positive 24. Negative 8 plus a negative 3 is a negative 11. And of course my variable here is x and x. So I have now factored this trinomial into these two factors. Now I'm still solving for x, so what I got to do at this point is I'm going to take each one of these factors and set them equal to 0 and then solve for x. Alright, so I'm going to take this x minus 8 equals to 0. I'm going to take x minus 3, set it equal to 0, and that'll give us our values for x that we're looking for. Alright, so here add 8, add 8. We end up with x is equals to 8. Here's one of our answers. Okay, and this one, plus 3, plus 3, x equals to 3. Here's another one of our answers.